Hello and welcome to today's video. Now in my last few videos I've been talking a lot about the theatre and I've decided that I quite enjoy talking about the theatre, so that's probably the direction I'm going to go in with this channel. So with that in mind, today I'm going to be doing another one of those challenges. This is another social media challenge that I've decided to just do in a video because it's a 30-day musical theatre challenge, and honestly I'm never going to do that. I'm not going to remember to update my Facebook 30 days in a row with a different musical number. It's just not going to happen. This challenge is to share 30 of your favourite musical theatre numbers. So I'm going to entitle this episode, These Are a Few of My Favourite Musical Numbers, in ode to the sound of music. Now I'm going to do this in two parts. This is going to be episode 1. I'm going to do the first 15 and then I'll do the latter 15 in the next video. I've tried to make picks that pull from different areas of my musical theatre knowledge and interest. So hopefully this is varied enough that it's interesting and it's not just this is another song from the same musical that I really like, because that would be really easy to do. I also think that I'm going to take a look at this list in about 2 weeks' time and be like, that's wrong, I'd have picked something else, I'd have changed this, I'd have done that. So if you do see me and you ask me about a particular song, my opinion may have changed on that. So let's start at the very beginning with number 1. And the first question, I don't know what these things are actually, they're more statements, is a number from one of your favourite musicals. And I have chosen Defying Gravity from the musical Wicked. I love Wicked. It was my favourite show up until very, very recently. I'll come to that either in this video or the next video, I'm not sure. Wicked is what I would class as mine and my mum's show. It's a musical that we both love. We're Wizard of Oz fans, and seeing the story of Oz in a slightly different light and the Wicked Witch of the West in this new way was really fascinating to me. I also adore the music. I think there's only like one song that I usually skip if I'm listening to the soundtrack, and that's something bad. And the reason I've picked Defying Gravity is just because it is one of those big show-stopping numbers. It ends the first act of the show. I've never seen Wicked and not had goosebumps after Defying Gravity. No matter who's performing it, it's just phenomenal. I love it. I think it's a combination of the staging as well. The staging of Defying Gravity is fantastic with the smoke and lights and the rising of the platform. Although she's flying, it's magic. I think it's just really, really well done. And as I said, goosebumps every single time without fail. I have fond memories of singing this with my friends, me and my friend Becky in particular, if it's appropriate to do so, and even sometimes when it's not. We will find ourselves stood on the arms of chairs as high as we possibly can be in a room, singing Defying Gravity to one another, and it's just something that I have fond memories of, both as a show that I absolutely adore and love and think is magical, and a personal aspect of it that I have with my friends and of course my mum. Number 2 is name a song from a musical from the last 3 years. I was confused by this question. I didn't know if it meant something that I'd seen in the last 3 years or a show that came out in the last 3 years. I decided to go with the latter because I think I can make the others fall into different questions. One thing I try to do these days is not listen to a soundtrack of a show before I go to see that show. Literally, dog doesn't drink all day. The second I start to record, she starts to drink and you just get this awful slurping noise in the background. Done? Yes? Lie down then. Yes, as I was saying, I try not to get too acquainted with the soundtrack before going to see a show. I do this because I went to see Book of Mormon not knowing any of the music from it. I think I may have heard I Believe once or twice beforehand, but otherwise knew nothing. And that was a fantastic theatre experience, and I really enjoyed that, and that was kind of one of the best theatre experiences I've had because of that sort of surprise, not really knowing the music. So I try to do that. It can disappoint at times, but for the most part, it's been good. So that being said, a lot of shows that have come out in the last 3 years, I haven't really listened to the music of or have tried to not actively listen to it. I also think this show may be a little older than 3 years, but I had a look at what was nominated for Tony Awards, and I'm using that as my reference for multiple questions. And this was nominated for the Best New Musical 3 years ago, and that is Dear Evan Hansen. I really, really want to go see this show. It's in the West End now, so I really just need to get my act together and go down to London and see it. And I really want to see it because I've heard fantastic things, but also there is a song in this show called Waving Through a Window. I absolutely love the song, and I don't really know the context of it, but I think it's fantastic. I get the feeling that it's about, maybe being separated or, not necessarily feeling included. If you've not heard the song, go away, give it a listen. I know that goes against everything I just said about not listening to soundtracks, but it's a fabulous song, sung by Ben Platt on the soundtrack, and I just love it. I really want to know what's going on behind the rest of the show, because I have heard a few more numbers. I listen to Encore Radio. If you don't listen to Encore Radio, you should. It's a radio station just of musical theatre, and I hear these songs every now and again. I'm like, no, it sounds really good though. So Waving Through a Window is a song from a musical in the last 3 years, and I think that fits the brief of the question. Number 3 is name a song from a musical that you're not a big fan of. I'm not a massive fan of West Side Story. I know a lot of people are. That's fine. That's your opinion. I actually should give it more of a chance. I think I've seen it like once or twice and I've just been like, I don't really get it. I find it very repetitive in terms of the musicality. There's lots of clicking at the beginning. That goes on for too long. It just hasn't resonated with me. There's a few songs in West Side Story that I do enjoy though. I Feel Pretty, America is a fun one, and I wrote down Somewhere. I just think Somewhere's a beautiful song. I heard it performed live by somebody a few years back and I can't remember who it was, and I remember thinking, do you know what, I should give West Side Story a chance because I like this song. And I didn't, and I wish I remember who had performed it because it was really good. It'll come back to me. So yeah, Somewhere from West Side Story is my song from a musical that I'm not particularly fond of. Number 4 was a song from the first musical you remember seeing. I wanted to keep this to something I'd seen on the stage, and my mum is probably going to watch this and correct me and tell me that I'm very, very wrong. I have a feeling it was either Cats or Whistle Down the Wind. I'm just not sure which one. My mum will get in touch and tell me that the first musical I saw was something completely different. I'm going to go with Whistle Down the Wind for this one, just because I've got Cats somewhere else in this list for sure. And then again with Whistle Down the Wind, I'm torn a little bit between 2 songs. The first being Whistle Down the Wind. I think that's a beautiful song. I'm very familiar with the version by Tina Marina, who I'm quite a big fan of, and I just think it's a fantastic song. If you've not heard it, give it a listen. I haven't seen Whistle Down the Wind tour in a while, so I don't know if it's just sort of not popular anymore, but I remember seeing it a couple of times when I was younger, I think. I could just be making this all up. I've definitely seen it. The other song is When Children Rule the World, which is a fantastic song sung by the children in the cast about how they're going to, how the world would be if they were in charge. And I love it. I think it's a great song. It's very, upbeat in a musical that's not necessarily the most happy all the way through. Again, another fantastic show. I highly recommend it if it does ever tour or turn up in the West End again. Number 5 is a musical from the most recent show you saw, and last night actually me and James went to see Maid in Dagenham, which was performed by West Bridgford Operatic Society. Bravo to all, very good production. I'll be honest, I did not resonate with the music in this show. That's not to say it was performed badly, I just didn't care for the music. I think I would have preferred it as a play, because the book, whoever wrote that, I've got the programme somewhere, was really, really good and was performed really, really well by the cast. It really was funny, I was really into it, and then a song would come along and I felt that sort of disjointed it a little bit. That being said, there were a couple of songs in the show that I did enjoy. One of them was called Storm Clouds on the Horizon, I think, which kind of had many different elements throughout it. There was a little bit where it was sort of storm clouds on the horizon or something like that. I enjoyed that little medley, but because it was sort of broken up into other things, I kind of was like, what's happening? And then there was also, what was the song called? I wrote it down. I get my notes. So the song was called An Ideal World, and it was performed by a politician about, how things would be in an ideal world, but they're realistically never going to be. I think I particularly noticed that song last night because the actress who was performing that role was not the person in the programme. She was sort of stepping in because the actress who was supposed to be fulfilling that role was not very well. And as anybody who's done amateur theatre knows, most of the time we do not have understudies, and it was clear that this woman was not an understudy. For the most part, she did have a lot of her script on a clipboard, which actually didn't really take away from anything because it suited the character at times to have that clipboard. She performed this song fabulously. It was really, really well done, and I think for somebody who clearly had not been rehearsing for that role to pull off the song in the way that she did a really, really great job. Number 6 is your favourite opening song. This might be a bit controversial at the moment. I really like Jellicle Cats. I'm into it. I've not seen the movie, so I don't want to pass judgment, but I have seen the stage show several times, most recently in the West End when Nicole Scherzinger was playing Grisabelle. I just love it. I think it's great. It gets you in the mood. My problem with Cats is really that the second act opening with Gus the Theatre Cat is a bit slow. My God, I always forget about it, and then it turns up and I'm like, oh, we have to get through this. But Jellicle Cats I just think is really, I don't know how to describe it. It makes me do this in my chair. And if something's making me do this in my chair, it means I'm having a good time. Cats is a musical that I think a lot of people don't get, and I get that. I think if you take, the text that it's based off, that's, cute. And I think you've got to focus more on the actual musical elements, as in like the composition of the songs and the dance elements, to really appreciate it as a full thing come together. Because it really is just cats describing what they are and who they are and what their name is and why they've got that name, which is not the most interesting for 2.5 hours of theatre. But I enjoy Cats, and I think that Jellicle Cats is a fantastic opening that really sets you up for what you're going to have for the rest of your night. Number 7 was your favourite duet from a musical. I've gone for All I Ask of You from Phantom of the Opera, just because I find myself singing that a lot, because I think when I'm in good voice, I can do it justice. Probably not. I really love the song. I saw it in the West End a couple of years ago, and I really enjoyed Phantom. There's some really great music in Phantom. I could have picked several songs for this particular pick, but I'm going to All I Ask of You because it's probably the only number from Phantom of the Opera I can fit on here, and I think just for its status as a musical, it deserves a mention on my list, which is obviously going to be, a high standard for future knowledge of music. So yeah, I don't have too much to say about it. All I Ask of You is a lovely song. I sing it a lot. I like it. I enjoy it. It makes me happy. Number 8 was favourite musical number with a dance break, and I didn't really know what that meant, so I know what it means. I didn't know if it meant a musical number that stopped, had a dance break in it, sort of like Singing in the Rain, or if it meant sort of a musical number that was just a dance break, sort of like how there's 2 numbers in Sweet Charity that are just dance numbers. I wasn't quite sure what it meant, so I've gone for the first option, mainly because I wanted to include Turn It Off from Book of Mormon. As I mentioned earlier, I saw Book of Mormon really not knowing anything about it. Turn It Off is a fantastic song where the Mormons are talking about, just forget about those things that, maybe make you a bad person, or, maybe weren't your proudest moments, and everything's fine. And in it, there's a tap break in it, so dance break, yes, and it's fantastic, and I'm hoping to see it later this year again, but there's a moment in it where the lights just go off, and when they come back on like seconds later, they've all got a shiny little waistcoat on, they're doing their tap dance, and I have no idea where they came from, how they got them on in that time. It was seamless, it was fabulous, and I loved it. I mean, call me a stereotypical gay, but sequins and glitter, and I'm happy. Number 9 is your favourite musical theatre ballad, and honestly, this was probably the hardest pick. I've gone for As If We Never Said Goodbye from Sunset Boulevard, mostly because I sing it a lot, and I feel like that must mean something. I think it's one of those songs that, you know, occasionally will pop into your head because it kind of connects to something that's going on in your life. You know, maybe you go somewhere you've not been before in a while, or you see a friend who you've not had a chance to catch up with, and everything is as if, you know, we've never actually been apart. You know, it's very much like time has not passed, and it may have been months since I saw you last, but let's just sit down and just have fun. Just like good old times. And I love the song. I actually haven't seen Sunset Boulevard. I didn't think that would upset you so much, Bobby. Yeah, so I've never actually seen Sunset Boulevard. I would love to. I don't really know what it's about. I mean, I have an inkling about what it may be about, but like I never really sat down and looked into it. This is a song that I kind of became aware of because of Barbra Streisand, and then I've sort of heard other versions. Glenn Close's version's quite famous, and I just think it's a fantastic song, and I think it classes as a ballad. I don't know, I had so many things that I was like, oh, I could have that, I could have that, I could have that. Send in the Clowns, that's a fabulous song. That was very, very close second. Maybe might find somewhere in the next 15 to pop that. Number 10 is your favourite 11 o'clock number. An 11 o'clock number is a musical theatre number that sort of comes towards the end of Act 2, where the character has their big realisation, often a solo number, not necessarily though. There is a few debates about what categorises as an 11 o'clock number. The number I have selected is Rose's Turn from Gypsy, another show that I have not seen. I am not very good at this. Many fabulous people have sang this song. Patti LuPone and Bette Midler are the two who spring to mind immediately. I just think it's a fabulous song. It's, you know, it's got levels to it, it's got drama, it's a belter. I just think it's a fantastic song. If you've not heard it, go check it out. I'm sure you'll be able to find many a fabulous version on YouTube. It's just a song that I always find myself singing along to and like really getting into, and I think that's always a good sign of a number. Also, I did a bit of research on 11 o'clock numbers because I kind of thought that maybe this time might be one, but then it's in the first act of Cabaret. So that kind of scuppered that. And I think universally, and I hate to be like going along as a bit of a sheep, but Rose's Turn is like up there as the 11 o'clock number standard. Next up was Comic Number, and this could have been again a number of songs. I've gone for Life Outside Your Apartment from Avenue Q, because that at this moment in time, and this is what I mean, this will change very quickly, is my favourite number from Avenue Q. You could basically put the entire Avenue Q soundtrack into this box with a few exceptions. Life Outside the Apartment is a fantastic group number that brings all of the characters together. It's fun. It's, you know, there's a level of association with it. You know, I think we all have those days where we just like want to stare in and, you know, not go outside. But then there is so much to do outside, including drugs and preventing suicide and getting in trouble with the cops. If you've seen Avenue Q, you understand. It's very that. I think I've also chosen this because it's probably one of the most PC song titles that I could have selected from the comic numbers. Avenue Q is a fantastic show, bringing sort of puppetry, musical theatre. It's sort of Sesame Street meets South Park. It's an experience, and I'm here for it every single time. Question number 12 is your favourite ensemble number. I've picked two because I think the first one is very obvious, and then the second one is maybe from a show that a lot of people haven't seen that I think needs a bit more attention. The first number is One from A Chorus Line, because I sing that approximately 17 times a day. On my own, may I add, and it's a big chorus number. It's right at the end. Well, actually, I think it's sort of throughout Chorus Line, but it sort of finishes Chorus Line on this big number that's all kicking, all singing. I can't get my legs very high, I doubt they're even in shot. But it's a fabulous number. I think that it's just very catchy. It's very samey, but I think that's part of its charm. You know, it's easy to sort of connect to it, and sort of once you've got it, you've got the whole song. The second number that I wanted to just chuck out there is a song called Lady's Maid, and it's from Titanic the Musical. Warning, if you're going to see Titanic the Musical, it is a musical version of the events of what happened on the Titanic, not a musical version of the movie. When we went to see it, a lot of people seemed to leave in the interval, and I think that's because they expected it to end with Rose stood on a plank of wood, belting out My Heart Will Go On. not gonna lie, as a Celine Dion fan, into that. But it's not that. It's stories that features characters with the names of people who are actually on the plane. And Lady's Maid is a song that is... It features the people in the sort of lower classes and the lower decks, and they're singing about what they're going to do when they get to America. Unfortunately, most of them didn't make it, but they're talking about the jobs that they want to do and, you know, how America is the land of opportunity. And it was really lovely to see them in that moment of optimism and kind of a little bit harrowing knowing that, you know, what happens. Titanic is actually a fantastic musical as well. I don't know if it's necessarily got the appeal or praise that it deserves, in my opinion, but I definitely recommend it if you do see it about touring or there's an amateur production going on, because firstly, always support your amateur theatre, and two, it is a really fantastic show. 13 was Name a Song from a Guilty Pleasure musical, and I've not wrote anything down. I can't think of any musical that I sit there and go, oh, I kind of love it even though I shouldn't. I genuinely do not know of a single musical that I would say is a guilty pleasure. So I'm just going to have to skip over this one. Number 14 is a number from a musical that was nominated for Best New Musical on the year you were born. So in my case, we're looking at the year 1989. And the nominees for Best New Musical are Jerome Robson's Broadway, sure, Black and Blue, and Starmites, yay! I've not heard of a single one of these shows. I genuinely looked them up. I knew nothing about any of them. The winner of the Best New Musical in 1989 was Jerome Robbins' Broadway, and I don't think this is very fair. I knew none of the songs from the other two. I knew songs from Jerome Robinson's Broadway because it's basically a combination, it's an anthology of all of the shows that was directed by Jerome Robbins or choreographed. So it included songs from Fiddler on the Roof, The King and I, and Gypsy. And for that reason, we're going back to Gypsy because one of the songs featured in the show was You Gotta Have a Gimmick If You Wanna Get Ahead, which is a fantastic song, and I knew it and I liked it. There was another option, Shall We Dance from The King and I was also in there. I was going to maybe chuck that in, but it's not a song that I know too well, but I do know that when it comes on the radio, Encore Radio, I do have a little bit of a dance around. So again, either one of those numbers, but I feel like it was unfair to Black and Blue and Starmites, which I couldn't even find song lists for two of them on Wikipedia, so Lord knows whatever happened to them. If they are good shows, let me know and I'll check them out more. I feel like it's unfair to group them together with a musical that's got songs from other musicals that are quite well known. There's a whole Fiddler on the Roof medley in Jerome Robson's Broadway, so I mean, come on, that's not a fair toss of the coin. Number 15 and last for this video is a favourite number sung by a female character. I have chosen She Used to Be Mine from Waitress. Again, another show that I've not seen. This is the only song I know from Waitress. It is quite popular. I think because Sarah Bareilles released it as a single outside of sort of the Waitress universe. Do you know what I mean? It's a beautiful song. I sing this all the time, badly, and I just think everybody should hear it. It's a song about a woman singing almost about the woman that she used to be and how she used to be independent and now she sort of feels trapped in her current situation. Sarah Bareilles is actually the composer of the musical and she's currently performing in the West End in that lead role. So I'm really hoping that we can go down and see it while she's there, because I think that'd just be a fantastic evening of theatre. I've heard fantastic things about the show as well. And it is touring the UK end of this year, beginning of next. So get your tickets if, you know, getting down to London is not a feasible option, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I'm saying that before I've even seen the show myself. And check out She Used to Be Mine, because it's just a beautiful song. So that's the first 15. I'm glad I'm splitting this into 2 videos because I can waffle on a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you do enjoy my video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. And I'll be back next week with the last 15 questions. Bye now.